Today's show was brought to you by Reebok. Take your workout anywhere with the Nano X2 Adventure. Link in our description. Sunday is the new moving day. If you thought you could predict the outcome today, you should be headed to the casino because the leaderboard was a gamble. For the fourth consecutive year, the Rogue Invitational has crowned the 2022 champions. Heading into today, Justin Medeiros trailed Roman Khrennikov by 10 points, an unfamiliar spot for him after being the leader post day one. Laura Horvath had a pretty substantial margin over Gabby Magawa, but the first event of the day, the 2019 Rogue Invitational repeat that included deficit handstand push-ups, a movement Horvath historically struggles with, could impact her lead. So, how does the programming shift the leaderboard? The whole event included 3 rounds of 20 dumbbell snatches, 100 pounds for the men and 70 for the women, 9 parallel handstand push-ups at a 4-inch deficit for the men and a 2-inch for the women. Today, the men kicked it off, and Heat 2 is where things turned up. Medeiros was the only athlete hanging on to that heavy dumbbell for touch-and-go reps, but it didn't pay off. Yodakowski passed him early on and held the lead, but Jason Hopper, sneaky. Moving up from the middle of the pack, going unbroken on that last set of handstand push-ups. And folks, he didn't just win, but he was almost a minute faster than the next best time.
I knew the first round was all bait. It's going to come down to like the last 2 rounds, and so I was hoping to, go unbroken on all of them, and then I did, and so I knew that was going to be the game changer. Just felt good on the handstand push-ups, kept rounding it out.
Heat 1 for the women is where the pace was set by Emma McQuaid. She came out hot and never cooled down. For reference, Tia Claire Toomey did the exact workout in 2019, finishing in 6:16. 3 years later, Toomey is still more than 30 seconds faster than the boys, but McQuaid was able to almost beat her record by finishing in 6:17. Then, as Heat 2 kicked off, all eyes were watching to see what Horvath would do. When she last did this event at Rogue, she was unable to complete a single handstand push-up, and fast forward 3 years later, a similar story. Horvath struggled the entire event and ultimately completed 3 reps on the parallettes. She took 19th, dropping her overall lead from 75 points to just 15 over Annie Thorisdottir. Luckily for Horvath, there was no minimum work requirement for the 2020 iteration of the event. Moving on to the next, the goblet. 7 rounds of 7 muscle-ups, a hill sprint, and 11 goblet squats at 62 pounds. For the majority of the event, the men were all within 1 rep of each other. It wasn't until the final 2 rounds that things started to get interesting. Roman Khrennikov fell significantly behind the pack, slowing down on the run. But this is exactly what the rest of the men's field needed to make moves on the final day. And then it was a battle at the top between Pat Vellner and Jeff Adler. While Vellner stayed consistent the whole time, he stepped on the engine for the final round and was able to beat Cole Sager's time from Heat 1 by just a single second. You only beat him by 1 second.
I lost to Sam by 1 second the other day. Those seconds count. So if I'm being honest, I knew he was low in that 13 range. I didn't know where. You're just kind of trying to get it done at the end and not freeze up on those squats. And to be honest, had I known it was that close, I probably would have ran harder onto that kettlebell. I kind of picked my nose there for a couple seconds before I picked it up and almost cost me, but.
Last day, best day. We're in the bright Nano X2 Adventures because we are full of life, full of personality, because the athletes are taking the floor for the final time here in Round Rock, Texas. But we are still geeked out in all of our Reebok clothes. A little warm, a little cold, so I got the long sleeves with the shorts on. But you gotta have the bright colored shoes. If you wanna get your hands on a pair, make sure to check out our link in the description. Now, back to our recap show.
15 minutes is an aggressive time cap, especially for the women, is not a single athlete finished. Similar to the men though, the women were going rep for rep, specifically Emma Lawson and Matilda Garnes. But while no athletes finished, Lawson got the win by just 1 second over Garnes, making it her second event win of the weekend, where she completed all of the reps, but was just short on time to cross the finish line.
I didn't really have a strategy going into it. I just kind of went for it and kind of just see how long I can hang on for. Ring muscle-ups are definitely one of my better movements, so I'm just going to see how long I can maintain a quick pace and stay unbroken.
The final event of the day was a showdown. It was heavy grace at 225, 165. Hopefully you didn't get too comfortable with the leaderboard after that last event, because it's about to shift yet again. Medeiros and Vellner were battling for the gold at this point, as Medeiros leads by just 5 points. Now to the competition floor, and as soon as you thought Vellner was going to win the event and the Rogue Invitational, Vellner failed to jerk on a rep, all that Medeiros needed to tie things up. But then Vellner failed yet another rep, and Medeiros passed him, earning the points that he needed to solidify his title. For 2 consecutive years, Medeiros has now won the CrossFit Games and the Rogue Invitational.
Having like more and more competition experience, you start learning those things. It's not over until it's over. You never know what's going to happen, and just making sure like every workout we go out there, we're giving it our all. And yeah, I mean, definitely a lot of learning experiences this weekend, but hopefully this don't happen again. So.
As for the event win, Adler took the W. Turning now to the women, heading into the final event, Horvath was 35 points ahead of second, but our eyes were watching who would get 2 and 3 on the podium. Only 5 points separate Annie Thorisdottir with Emma Lawson right behind her. The order ultimately stayed the same for 1, 2, and 3, but Cara Saunders stole the show with her first event win, telling me she did it all for her daughter Scotty.
Every day I'll be like, I might be a bit upset, like I finished crappy, and I'll be like, she'll be like, Mama, did you win? I say no. I said, but I tried so hard. I'm like, I tried really hard, and she's like, that's good. And then the next day I was a bit upset, and she's like, Mama, you tried so hard, you did a good job. And I'm like, this alone just taught her so much, so it's like worth every second.
Here's your women top 10 after 10 events, the most the Rogue Invitational has ever had. Important to note that Emma Lawson and Ellie Turner tied by points, but Lawson ended up on the podium due to her event wins. For the men, man, there were a lot of changes. Justin Medeiros climbing back to the top, Chandler Smith making his way to second place after coming into the final day in 4th. And Jeffrey Adler staying towards the top of the leaderboard, beating out Patrick Vellner from the podium by just 10 points.
And that's a wrap for the 2022 Rogue Invitational. Thanks for hanging out with us. We hope you enjoyed all of the coverage from the athlete interviews, written articles, and even our daily recap shows. Make sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we'll see you next time.